Choosing the wrong investment fund could be costing you thousands. Passive investing versus active investing. Passive fund versus an actively managed fund. Understanding this is critical to your wealth. And every day, people are signing on the dotted line with a financial advisor where money is being put into an actively managed fund, not knowing that they are literally handing over 70% of their future returns that should be in their back pocket. Scary. Let me backstep. Let's understand what the hell are we talking about here. When you're investing in your equity investments, the easiest and most cost-effective way to do that is by investing via funds, where you get one fund that owns shares in a variety of companies, and with a single investment, you own all of the shares in that fund. This is the way to be investing in your core base asset class that forms the bulk of your investing. But not all funds are created equally. You get actively managed funds and passive funds, also known as index trackers. Yes, I love index trackers. An actively managed fund is where you have a team of supposedly smart fund managers who do all the research and know the quants and got all the sheets and spreadsheets going around them and those charts that are going up and down and are deciding which shares are going to be bought and held by that fund. Now, that is an actively managed fund. So you have a fund team who gets paid big bonuses, lots of money, who supposedly do all the smart thinking to get your money working hard for you. An index tracker fund, on the other hand, or a passive fund, says, well, hey, maybe humans aren't as smart as they like to think they are, and let's just put the companies that this fund is going to invest in based on whatever is happening in a specific market, hence an index. So you can get an index tracker fund that tracks or mirrors a specific sector of the market. So you could have all of the top companies in the USA, for example, all the top companies bought and sold on the London Stock Exchange. And so you can have an index. One of the most well-known indices is called the S&P 500, the Standard & Poor's 500, which says what are the biggest 500 companies bought and sold on the US stock markets, and it says, well, let's track that and we'll put that in the fund. Now, in this case, there's no human involved in making that decision because literally that fund just says, wow, what's the 500 biggest companies? We'll own that, and a computer can do that, and hence why it's called a passive fund, also called an index tracker. So now, great, human versus computer making the decision for you. What is the difference? Well, the difference is this, is if you had $10,000, but you're a bit nervous and you do what most people do, you think investing is complicated and difficult and risky and hell, you just don't have the time. You go to the financial advisor. After all, they're the experts, the wealth manager. They put you into an actively managed fund. Now, using the average market return, since God was a lass, you'll see that over 20 years, that 10,000 would grow to 48,200. Not too bad. Now, because you understand the difference, instead, you're going to put that money into a passive fund, into an index tracker fund, still invested in the exact same underlying companies over that same 20 years. Instead of growing to 48,200, that would grow to over 170,000. Yes, that's 120,000 difference. What? That's crazy. You say, but and surely there's more risk or something different was going on there. The difference is an active fund versus a passive fund. The difference is the cost. And it's the cost that makes the difference. Because with an actively managed fund, you've got humans involved. They need fancy salaries and bonuses. They need holidays and cars that they have to drive in and suits to look sexy. Yeah, we know what that financial industry looks like. They need all those advertising boards. Yes, there's a reason when you get off an airplane, all those boards, all those funds telling you, let us look after your money for you. Why? Because they make a lot of money off your money. There are things called ongoing charges and fees on these investment funds that you're getting charged each and every day. And there are two sets of fees. The first fee are the ongoing charges related to the actual fund you're invested in. And typically, an active managed fund will have charges between 2 and 5%. So that money is taken off of your investment, irrespective of the performance of the fund. They get their money no matter how the fund does. The second fee comes on with financial advisors. So on top of that, if you've invested via a financial advisor, they'll charge an additional fee, often around about 1%. Many people say, well, Anne, what's 1%? Well, 1% ends up being that 120,000 difference. That is the power of compounding, because that money is now not working for you, but instead it's working for them. So when you sign up for an investment, or if you went into something and somebody said to you, you put in all the money, you take all the risk, but at the end of the day, I will keep 70% of the profit, you would say, no way. But that's exactly what's happening when people are going into actively managed funds via financial advisors, because you don't need to. Index tracker investing is super easy. Now you don't just need to trust me. There's been research done every single year since the 1970s, where actually John Bogle was the inventor, the father of index trackers. He was a fund house where they had these actively managed funds, and he said, hang on, let's not be so arrogant to just presume that we're actually outperforming the market. And he did a research to say, well, how is the market performing versus how are most actively managed funds performing? And he found that over 85% of actively managed funds failed to just give the market return, the supposed experts. Why? Because of the costs that eat away, but also because of trading costs and the way that humans love to fiddle. So now it wasn't just a once-off. Every single year this research is done, and consistently actively managed funds, between 82 and 85% of actively managed funds fail to just beat the very market that they're supposedly trying to beat. And worse, you might say, well, Anne, surely I can find, the one fund that does beat the market. Year on year, almost no fund consistently beats the market. So the probability of you or that financial advisor being able to put your money into the one needle in the 1,000 haystacks that just might outperform the market is so tiny. Your far better bet, if you want guaranteed wealth, is to get your money working hard for you in index trackers, cut out the costs, cut out the fees, and you get that 120 difference in your back pocket, not somebody else's. That is the difference between active versus passive funds.